Hey, so I'd like to share with you a digital PR campaign done by the coffee retailer Coffee Friend. And I think that it's just a really good example of using Z-list celebrities to do newsjacking. So they're finding Z-list is basically people who you can get to interview on the cheap. I would imagine quite cheaply anyway. Um, and interviewing them at a time where their commentary is relevant. And it's part of the series called A Coffee Break With. So they've done this like loads and loads of times. So it's like quite repeatable. And sort of any industry can do this because it's not really about coffee. It's just about having a chat to celebrities. So you need a bit of budget, but really it can be replicated quite easily. So the first example I want to give you is this one with Princess Diana's former chef Darren McCready, right? So this was done on uh, March 2022, and the Platinum Jubilee, which, if you're not British, uh, it's basically where the royal family have like a big lunch and a big celebration because the Queen's been the Queen for like ages, and it's a celebration of that. But the royal family have lunch basically. Uh, was happening at that time of year. And if you look, I googled Platinum Jubilee. I set it to around the time that this piece was published, and it gets written about a lot. So yeah, it's sort of like a ripe angle. So this Darren McGreedy guy, this is him. This is his website. Like he essentially dines out, if you pardon the pun, on the fact that he used to cook for the royals and is sort of wants to make a career of making these types of media appearances. So I would imagine that although you probably do need to pay him, he's keen to get his name out there. So if you can create some sort of a deal where he'll be like, yeah, we'll get you the papers, he will want this opportunity. So I don't think it's going to be too expensive to get him. Also, he's just like not really a well-known guy. Like he's not famous or anything. He's never on TV or anything like that. He's just a guy. Uh, so yeah, it's going to be quite budget friendly, although you need a bit of budget. And the trick here, like with all digital PR, is to sort of think about the headline you want to create and try and push the interview in that direction, right? So, as I said earlier, the Platinum Jubilee is happening, and what the interview was clearly geared to do um, was to get this guy to talk about what the Queen likes to eat, what the Queen will have for lunch, and they ask you here, how is the Queen's menu selected? The Queen, blah 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 blah. And now we look at the links this has gotten. Everything you need to know about the Queen Elizabeth's favourite foods. Uh, the Queen was definitely a chocoholic. What was Princess Diana's favourite food? Why Chef Darren Greedy made 150 plates of food for the Queen? And we'll go here. We go. Speaking with Coffee Friend, McGreedy, said whatever he said. And yeah, it got cited in The Sun. We got links from Mashed, Tasting Table. Yeah. And it was all centered around this one question. So, yeah, the Queen's going to have a big lunch. What is she going to eat? The royal chef says what they're going to eat, and that is the news for some reason. But yeah, like I said, it's probably not going to cost too much to interview this guy, and 21 links, including some really, really good ones. And most importantly, it's repeatable. So, second example is this one. Coffee Break with former Newcastle and England footballer Rob Lee, published in December 2021. This was not done by accident. In October 2021, the Saudi Arabian I think it's the royal family, took over Newcastle United. Yeah, so Newcastle went from being a bang average football club to having an infinite amount of money. So, and again, this was in the news a hell of a lot. So a natural question that people were asking were, okay, Newcastle now have an infinite money. Like, who are they going to buy? Are they going to buy Messi? Are they going to buy Ronaldo? So who would be a good person to answer this question? A former Newcastle player. Now, it's not just any old Newcastle player. Rob Lee is one, a bit of a legend at Newcastle, and two, he's not that famous. He's a has-been, basically. I think the average person who watches football now and maybe started watching in the mid-2000s like won't even know who he is. He's not like a famous person. Again, he would be not free, but not too expensive to get an interview with. And then it's just about asking the right question. So, like I said earlier, everyone's asking who should Newcastle sign now they have lots of money? What's the question? How do you think with which, it's not even worded properly. So it's basically saying who should Newcastle sign in this January transfer window? And he says, I think Kieran Trippier, James Tarkowski, and Jesse Lingard. Now look at the links they got. Lingard at 10 in Bale over Hazard. Newcastle Fantasy 11 compiled by club legend Rob Lee. Newcastle Chronicle. Newcastle legend issues Eddie Howe warning amid Kevin Keegan claim. And they also asked him a question because David Ginola, who was Rob Lee's teammate, was appearing on I'm a Celebrity this year. So they also realised they could get a headline out of this, so they asked him this question, and they got in the Sun because of it. So yeah, it's a nice little example, that one. And finally, we've got, they did an interview with Manny Pacquiao's strength and conditioning coach, Justin Fortune. Again, notice the date, August 2021. Manny Pacquiao's final fight was August the 21st, 2021. Again, it's very timely. And one of the questions they asked, not coincidentally, was Justin Fortune on the Conor McGregor fight that fell through. So, yeah, he says basically who would win in a fight, Manny Pacquiao or Conor McGregor. And if we look at the headlines, Conor McGregor does not deserve Pacquiao fight. The Sun. Here we go. Conor McGregor does not deserve Manny Pacquiao fight. It's the same headline, but it's a different article. So they clearly outreached with this headline in DAZN, which is a DR82 site, and they've got quite a few like these. So yeah, 3 little examples there. So this hinges around 4 things, right? So we've got the event, the headline you want to generate, finding a relevant Z-lister celebrity you can afford, and a leading question to generate the headline. So with the example of Rob Lee, we've got the Saudi takeover of Newcastle United is the event. Newcastle United Dream 11, now they have loads of money, is the headline. Rob Lee is the relevant Z-lister. And asking them which players Newcastle should sign is the question. So I came up with my example. So the event in this case is Euro 2024. When you're thinking of an event, you want to pick something that people actually care about. Don't go for something that's like super generic, like World Book Day or Christmas. Be a little bit more specific than that, like something, again, that people actually care about, something that's in the news a lot. Euro 2004, it's coming up, people are talking about it, people care about it. Now, if we Google Euro 2024 and we look at the news, we can see that the common question being asked is like, who should Gareth Southgate start at Euro 2024? That is just a version of that question. That is just a version of that question. That's a version of that question. So that's sort of the question, right? And one of the big sub-questions in that is, if you're not a football fan, England currently have 2 of the best players in the world, and they both play in the same position. Their names are Foden and Bellingham. They both play attacking midfield. And the question is, can he start both? Now, if you're a football fan and you're of a certain age, say 30 or over, you'll have noticed that in the mid-2000s, England had the same problem with Lampard and with two footballers called Lampard and Gerrard, both basically the best players in the world in their position, both played the same position. So to get a relevant person, I initially looked at the players who played in the squad with Frank Lampard and Steven Gerrard. And I looked through this and I was like, is there anyone here who we could interview on a budget? And to be honest, all these players are still famous. Like, so no. Like, even the ones who had successful careers, like Jermaine Genius, is regularly on TV. This guy, Scott Carson, he's also one of the more sort of less successful players. He's still a footballer. So they're going to be too expensive. So you go to one step beyond. This was the manager, and this is his coaching staff. The manager, again, will be too expensive. So we've got options of Brian Kidd, Todd Grip, Dave Sexton, and Sammy Lee. If we can get any of them to give a soundbite on this topic, I think it will work. So I've chosen Sammy Lee. And then the question I would ask them is, should Southgate start at Bellingham and Foden? So the headline that we'd get would be, Southgate can/cannot start Foden and Bellingham, according to Sven's former assistant manager. I can see that being a headline in, The Sun, any tabloid newspaper, like 442 magazine, goal.com, ladbible.com. I can see that being a headline there. So yeah, this is the kind of thing you need to do these types of campaigns.